Hi, I'm Kirstie Kelly. I'm a couture designer. I've been designing for upwards of 14 years, doing evening wear and bridal. I started off in suiting and moved my way over into the world of evening wear and then into bridal. My style's evolved so much from when I started. I think that's probably normal considering where trends go. However, I think in general my technique tends to be much more tailored and modern and not modern in the sense of not romantic, but modern in the sense of very clean. I'm a fan of making sure that if you have something on a gown, it actually does something. So we try and stay away as much as possible from things like fake buttons. I think that over the years I went from a very minimalistic styling to a much more embellished style. You know, with trends, style evolves. So, and I think also as you grow as a designer, the more mature you get as a designer, you find that there are different techniques that you feel more true to than others. I tend to love details that are almost a hidden detail, something that's not so obvious, not so in your face. And I tend to like doing a lot of draping and using a lot of textures as detail. I think in the last few years, however, we have gone and worked a lot more with stones and beading and various different types of shine. And while I love that, I still sort of hold true to this very minimalistic approach that allows the bride to shine through in the dress as opposed to the dress really engulfing the bride, I think. I'm a designer who, I do two different types of designing. When I'm working specifically with a bride and we're doing couture gown, then I talk to the bride and we find out a lot more about who she is as a person, what kind of wedding she's going to have, who her fiance is, and really what kind of lifestyle they have, because we want to be able to develop a gown that is very specific to who this bride is and will touch her heart as well as her fiance's. To go about that, we learn more about who they are, and then we talk about the kind of wedding it's going to be, and then I start sketching. And sometimes a bride will bring an inspiration. She might have inspiration. It could be something that's a color, or it could be that she has, a brooch of her grandmother's that she wants to wear. I had one bride bring in a pair of shoes that she had bought the day after she got engaged, and the whole dress was designed around the shoes. What I try and do is make sure that the collections that we develop comprise a lot of what is happening in the world and in trend. Because I've been designing for, well, technically over 20 years, I don't want to put a date to it, but it's a very long time. I am actually a traditionalist and I hand sketch everything. We do then go in and put it into computer when it's needed, and when we're making the product it's the same way. I prefer being able to drape product on a mannequin and having the patterns done flat hand as opposed to doing computerized patterns. It gives, I think the sketch comes to life more. I think that the product in the end comes to life more when you're able to work that way. The signature style that I would say is inherently Kirstie Kelly, it's not a takeaway that you would see when you're looking at all of these individual pieces. It is something that you feel when you put the gowns on. It is a very high level of quality. It's a high level of comfort. It's an extremely good fit. And it is the fact that you see the bride and then you see the dress. And I think that that's something that we try very hard to do in our company. I don't ever want the gown to outshine the bride. I want it to make the bride more herself and more beautiful and more organically romantic. And so the styles change. We have some dresses that are huge ball gowns that are beaded all over and very opulent, and then we have gowns that don't have a stitch of beading on them. But they all have the same feel about them in the sense that they're not overwhelming, and in the sense that, a bride who is going to have a destination wedding and wear this very simple gown, and the wedding is, could be a moderate price point, will look as lovely and as luxurious and rich as the bride who's having an extremely opulent wedding, and the gown could have cost thousands more. Inspiration comes from a lot of different places. I think this year's inspiration has really come from the romance and the textures that I find around me. And it's not just textures and fabrics, though. It could be textures in anything. It could be, being at a park and the grass and the color of the grass you see, it could create some feeling, or leaves in a tree, the wind is blowing in a perfect way. I think that the collection now that we're coming out with is much more organic and natural in feel, and it definitely has been inspired by my surroundings. There's a different bride for every dress, or there's a different dress for every bride. No matter what the trends are that are happening, you're always going to have the bride who wants that very opulent, over-the-top gown, and you have to have something for that bride. So, I think it just depends on what we've built into the collection. We have gowns in the new collection that are all over beaded, and it just depends on the kind of beading you use. And you can create an all-over beaded gown and it can still be very subtle if you're using the right tones of beads, or if you're using the right crystals. There's different ways to use crystals that pull the light into them, and some of them push the light out, and it's just a matter of choosing the right ones for the right dress. When it comes to designing, I usually sketch out sketches that look like these. These are called croquis, and they take about 2 minutes, and they are just flat sketches of an inspiration or the idea that you're going after, and this then turns into a large illustration. When we do the croquis, I always have something in mind along the lines of a texture of a fabric, or the body of the fabric, whether we're using chiffons or satins. I like to put together moods and inspirations around me when I'm sketching. So unfortunately, my desk can be quite cluttered. It could be that there's a pile of fabric, and then there's a bunch of beads, and there'll be some trims, and there's all sorts of things around me that help sort of develop the mood and the idea that we're going after within the collection. I would love to show you a little bit about what I believe is really important right now in texture and beading. When I talk about beading right now, one of the things that I absolutely love are stones that are actually covered. So, in this kind of a beading, you see a spray of crystals that do give it somewhat of a bling, but it's not a high bling. And then on top of it, you've got also stones that are covered in chiffons, and then you have textural chiffons that are creating flowers around it. It's a very romantic and sort of modern approach to what people are doing in bridal beading. And then this is also a beautiful technique. This is layering of chiffon to create roses. We've done this sort of thing to create entire skirts as well as just bodices, and this is actually just a halter top bodice. It has little teeny crystals in the center of each rose. The best approach is and was to take the princesses and bring their personalities out in modern day women. That approach worked really well. We took it into the marketplace and brides loved it. Not only do they relate to the Disney princesses, because a lot of these brides grew up watching the Disney films, but they loved who these princesses had become as modern day women. It inspired them, and it's made them want to be able to wear a Disney princess wedding gown. Disney approached me a number of years ago, and they were wanting to get into the bridal industry.
Well, hop in, my dear. We can't waste time. Now, don't try to take me.
Oh, I wasn't. I mean, I do, but don't you think my dress?
Yes, it's lovely, dear. Good heavens, child. You can't go in there.
We had done some research, and they found that we were a company that had a lot of integrity and was very high in customer service. And as everybody knows, Disney is a very customer-oriented company. The concept was we want to do a line around the princesses. So I took that one step further and thought that, yes, we can do a line around the princesses, but how do we make sure that it relates to the modern day woman and the woman who is in her 20s and 30s?
Oh, just leave it to me. What a gown this will be.
The best approach is and was to take the princesses and bring their personalities out in modern day women. So for instance, we have Jasmine, who is our bohemian chic bride. She is, around 27, 28 usually. She's having a destination wedding. She's a little more casual than maybe the average bride. She's more adventuresome. She's doing it her way. It's maybe not going to be a traditional wedding. That approach worked really well. We took it into the marketplace, and brides loved it. Not only do they relate to the Disney princesses, because a lot of these brides grew up watching the Disney films, but they loved who these princesses had become as modern day women and as adults. And it inspired them, and it's made them want to be able to wear a Disney princess wedding gown. The gowns are not costumey at all. I mean, they're beautiful wedding gowns that emulate the personality and the spirit of the princess, but do not show the, I guess, aesthetics of the princess clothing. I guess that's probably the best way to describe it. This is such a special gown. We actually just highlighted this gown in a book that I've been working on with Disney Fairy Tale Weddings, and we use this in our very Hollywood glamour wedding styling. This gown is designed for the Princess Giselle from the film Enchanted. It is based off of her personality, clearly not based off of what you saw in the film. And what comes across in this gown is a very organic feel. You can see within the detailing all of these beautiful little leaves and cording, and it's very representative of how she is as a woman in terms of, you know, she becomes this woman and she becomes sort of this natural beauty within a city, but she still has a very organic feel. Now this gown is made out of actually a cotton, although you couldn't really tell. The leafing and the netting on it is all organza and net leaves that are all hand done with cording, and then it has a beautiful ruching. This gown, I think, is a great representation of what's happening texturally within the industry, because you not only have texture on the skirt, but you also have ruching on the bodice. The shrug is very important now because it adds a little bit more detail to anyone's wardrobe. Oftentimes women like to change partway through. It can keep an event sort of special, and by being able to either remove or put on a shrug is always a special way to update your outfit, as well as brooches. Brooches, I think, are extremely important for bridal gowns. They just add something. When you don't have any type of glitter anywhere on the dress, a brooch can dress that up just ever so slightly. It really did open it up to a whole new audience. The couture product was at a price point that, you know, it wasn't feasible for a lot of brides to be able to purchase it. It's a higher price point. It's an aspirational price point. And the Disney line, it was very important to me to create a line that was opened up in a broader category, so brides across the country could and would be able to, you know, wear that product. And it hits a fantastic price point. We have dresses that, you know, start just under $1,000 and they go all the way up to $4,000. So there's something in there for almost every single bride, and the brides are thrilled. This is a very special dress. This is our latest Snow White gown for our Kirstie Kelly for Disney Fairy Tale Weddings collection. The reason why it's so important is it's what we consider our, well, this season we're calling it our diamond gown. It comes out and is launched with the Snow White film coming out on DVD. We are doing this gown as well as we have a very special Snow White diamond ring and engagement ring in our fine jewelry collection that we're doing a really special event with that comes in the form of a gold ticket within the DVDs that are launching. It's very exciting. This gown is a silk organza gown. The shape of it is a fit and flare, which generally fits almost every type of a body, whether you are a size 24 or a size 2. This shape just looks amazing on. And I'm excited about this gown because of the different elements and details. It shows a very clean and minimalistic shape, but it still has some gorgeous detailing in the ruching on the bodice. It has a gorgeous brooch on it with pearl detailing. And then inside the beading, the beads are wrapped in net and chiffon. We launched the Red Label line, which is our full-figured line, at market last year. It was incredible. You know, the models were phenomenal. There was so much energy. They had such a fantastic time. The audience absolutely adored them. There was one model in specific that was very sassy and that everybody was talking about, and they still do. We'll still get calls and they'll be like, "I just loved her. Is she coming back?" And you know, I think it's so wonderful. And they had a fantastic time showing off the dresses, and you know, I think they're very proud of who they are, and they should be. When we started to research the fuller figure woman, I was quite amazed at how little there was in the bridal publications, and I think it's shocking. I think that there should be stories about full-figured women. They're beautiful women. They're getting married just like everybody else. There's no difference. I mean, sure, their size is different, but there's no reason why there shouldn't be more coverage of this. So we brought the line out into market, and it had rave reviews. The brides are thrilled with it. I can't tell you how special it is to be able to go to a trunk show and have a bride who is a size 36 try on a gown and actually be able to try it on and see what it looks like on her. and have it look beautiful. You know, there are beautiful parts of a woman's body, and some women have more of them and they show more of them, and other women have less of them, but overall they're beautiful women. There's no reason why a full-figured woman should not be able to buy a gown in a store and feel beautiful on the day that she tries on her gown, as well as the day that she gets married. There are a lot of women and a lot of women that are very inspirational figures that I would love to work with someday. I think it's more about being able to dress a woman that you can visibly see a difference in after you've worked with her. To be able to see a woman shine when she either puts on, whether it's a bridal gown, an evening gown, or a suit, and know that you have impacted her life in a positive way and made her feel better about herself. To me, that is the key. That means I've done my job well. So it's not about designing what is that perfect dress, because everybody's different and everybody has a perfect, different dress. We've worked with Selma Blair and Kathleen Kim, and we've worked with the Samantha Who cast, and we've worked on with Isla Fisher and Wedding Crashers and Moving Forward, and we've worked on Will and Grace, Deborah Messing, that crew. So we've worked with a number of people. They're all lovely women. I think the biggest point, people are so fascinated with stars. I think the biggest point is that they're actually just people. They're just women, and they have the same thoughts and the same concerns and think about the same things that all women do. And the unfortunate thing is they are much more in the limelight, and for some they love that, and others they can't stand it. So I try and keep it quite a bit private so that they can make their own choices about that. I wanted to show you this gown because it's a beautiful demonstration of bias and how bias fits on the body. Bias is an incredible technique when you're making a gown to stretch the fabric. You actually use the diagonal of the fabric. When you're making a gown out of a bias, you tend to use about double the amount of fabric that you would use under normal conditions. And the weight of it is what's really important. A well-made bias gown will just form the shape of your body. It will highlight the beautiful aspects, and it can also hide some of the things that you're not wanting to show if it's made correctly. I also wanted to show you here the dimension, and I think the dimension is something that's very important to talk about for trend and for seasons. Right now, although this has a lot of shine to it in terms of the crystals, it's still very modern in the sense that the dimensional flowers that the crystals are sitting within give it a very sort of modern touch to bridal beading. This is, I believe, such a sweet representation of a flower girl dress. It is a dress that is not too fussy. We do have fussier dresses, but I tend to like the ones that are very sweet. I love this dress because I like the textural differences. The bodice is out of a net, and it's completely ruched all the way across with this sweet little ruching on the detail. And then the skirt is out of a very soft taffeta. There's nothing itchy underneath it that is going to make it uncomfortable for the little girl. It might not actually twirl out completely the way a lot of girls like to twirl, but it still gives the feeling that she's in a very full little dress. When we started with bridal, the idea was we wanted to make sure that the bride had a gown and an experience on that wedding day that she would never forget. Because it's not just the gown, it's also about her comfort level in dancing, her comfort level, like does she know how to sit in the gown, does she know how to move in it? All of those things have to be taught, and we do that at the last fitting for a bride. But what happens beyond that? You have this customer who loves what you've built them and is taking away this remembrance, but then they're gone, and you get a baby picture from them, and you get all these lovely little things from them through the years. But if they're not coming back to buy suiting, then you sort of have lost that relationship. So how do you build on that? One of the things that we've started to do is build out these other categories of products. We have jewelry, we are launching a fine jewelry line. We're launching various different lines within the industry that allow that customer to come back to us, and always, whether they're having an event and they want to decorate the table, they can purchase product for us, or whether they're having an outdoor event and they want to do something with their tabletop outside, they can purchase product, or eventually down the road, can they do furniture? There's all of these different areas that have opened up to us to be able to you know, really support our customers and be able to, for them to be able to buy a Kirstie Kelly product through their lifetime.